You know, for as long as we can remember, we've been told there's this huge conflict between science and faith. It's a classic story, right? But what if? What if we've been getting that story all wrong?
We're so often presented with this idea of an endless war between two totally opposite forces. It's this epic showdown that pits cold, hard facts against ancient sacred beliefs.
And the battle lines are usually drawn just like this. On one side, you've got reason and data, the things we can actually measure. And on the other side, you have ritual and tradition, the things we inherit and practice. It feels like you have to pick a side. But what if that's a false choice? What if asking which side is right is completely missing the point? Because a growing body of research is starting to tell a much more interesting and, honestly, a much more useful story. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with a whole new framework, then look at some very real, surprising health benefits. We'll explore rituals as a kind of technology, see how this all might be a cure for loneliness, and then we'll end on a powerful idea about doing before understanding. All right, first up, let's just try to reframe this entire conversation. Instead of getting bogged down in dogma and who believes what, let's look at all these practices from a totally different angle. Let's try thinking of spiritual practices not as these abstract beliefs, but as a form of human technology. Now, this framework shifts our focus from what people believe to what people do. These are tools, like prayer, meditation, or singing together, that have been developed over thousands of years, specifically to help us humans flourish. And this is where it gets really compelling. Because if these practices are a kind of technology, then we should be able to measure their effects, right? Well, it turns out we absolutely can. And the scale of the impact is staggering. Researchers have discovered that long-term, regular participation in a faith community is linked to an incredible 30% reduction in overall mortality. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That is a massive effect, on par with some major public health breakthroughs. And when you break that number down, you see some really key things. We're talking lower rates of major killers like cancer and heart disease, but also really significant improvements in our mental well-being, with lower rates of anxiety and depression. The data across the board is it's pretty striking. Okay, so what's the secret sauce here? Is it really just about having a built-in social life? Is it just good for you to get out of the house and see people once a week? Well, community is a huge piece of the puzzle, no doubt about it. But the evidence suggests that the benefits go way deeper than just belonging to a club. There's something special about the practices themselves. These rituals, things like prayer, meditation, singing in a group, even having structured ways of mourning, they act like powerful psychological frameworks. They give us rhythm, a sense of belonging, and a kind of roadmap for navigating life's challenges in a way that, say, just a book club often doesn't. And listen, these aren't just feel-good activities. They actively shape our behavior. Experiments have shown that regularly engaging in practices like gratitude or prayer, it actually builds compassion. It strengthens our character, making us less likely to cheat, even when we think no one's watching. And here's what might be the most fascinating insight of all. You don't necessarily have to be a true, unwavering believer to get the rewards. The research suggests the simple, physical act of showing up and participating is the most important ingredient. The power really is in the doing, not just the believing. So if the power is in the doing, how does that communal doing help us tackle one of the most painful parts of modern life, which is loneliness? Beyond the physical community of people, so many individuals describe this powerful, felt sense of companionship. It's been described as being like having a friend at 3 a.m., a presence that makes life's darkest and loneliest moments feel just a little bit less heavy. And when it comes to the biggest, scariest questions we all have to face, questions about meaning, mortality, uncertainty, these traditions provide frameworks. They offer us a way to carry what can often feel completely unbearable when we're on our own. And the research here reveals something kinda counterintuitive. It turns out the most existential struggle isn't found at the extremes of faith or atheism. No, it's the people caught in the middle, the ambivalent, the uncertain ones, who can't fully lean into either trust or disbelief. They seem to struggle the most. Okay, this leads us to our final, powerful idea that kind of flips our modern logic on its head. We tend to think we need to understand something completely before we're willing to do it. But what if the practice itself is the only real path to understanding?
Now, of course, we have to acknowledge that these spiritual technologies are a tool with two very sharp edges. For all the community and purpose and health they can create, they can also lead to exclusion, rigidity, and division. But the key takeaway from the research is that when you look at the averages, the positive effects tend to outweigh the negative ones. And this just goes to show how deep our human hunger for these things really runs. As traditional institutions fade a bit, we are constantly reinventing these spiritual technologies. We find them at community festivals, in 12-step programs, on meditation apps, in yoga studios. We just keep building new vessels for meaning. Which brings us right back to this profound idea, borrowed from a Jewish tradition: we will do, and then we will understand. It totally flips our modern logic around. We think we need to analyze and understand something before we're willing to try it. This suggests the exact opposite, that true understanding can only come through the experience of doing. So in the end, maybe the most useful question isn't whether a certain belief is true or false. Maybe it's just about what works. It's about the practice, which leaves us with one final thought for you. What are the technologies, the rituals and practices, religious or not, that you use to keep yourself grounded in this crazy, chaotic world?